Why did you wait until now to tell me? Jimin's voice shattered through the empty studio just as lightning tore across the windows, and Jungkook's confession hung between them like a sentence neither of them could take back. Jimin stood beneath the cold fluorescent lights, rainwater dripping from the ends of his hair onto the floor, his chest rising sharply as he stared at the person who had just changed everything with 6 words. I have always loved you. Jungkook remained beside the mixing console, one hand gripping the edge so tightly that his knuckles had turned pale. His usual confidence gone beneath an expression Jimin had never seen on him before. Fear. Real, unguarded fear. Jimin laughed once, but the sound was broken. Say it again. Jungkook swallowed. I love you. Jimin's eyes immediately filled with tears. No, he shook his head, stepping backward. Don't say it like that. Jimin. Don't say it like it's something you just discovered. His voice cracked. You said you've always loved me. Jungkook lowered his eyes. I have. How long? I don't know. Don't lie. Years. The word struck harder than the thunder outside. Jimin stared at him, and suddenly every memory he had carefully filed under friendship began rearranging itself. The coffee Jungkook always left beside his hand before rehearsals. The way Jungkook remembered exactly how much sugar he liked. The countless late-night messages asking if he had eaten. The jackets placed over his shoulders. The strange silence whenever Jimin mentioned someone he found attractive. All those moments he had dismissed because believing otherwise would have been dangerous. Years. Jimin whispered. And you never told me? Jungkook's lips parted, but no answer came. You knew? Jimin asked. You knew all this time? Yes. Jimin's tears slipped down his cheeks. He wiped them away angrily. Then why did you let me think I was imagining everything? Because I was afraid. Of what? Losing you. Jimin froze. Jungkook looked at him with eyes that were already beginning to redden. If I told you and you didn't feel the same, I thought I would lose the only person I couldn't live without. Jimin laughed bitterly. So you decided silence was better? I thought it was safer. For who? Jungkook said nothing. For who, Jungkook? Jimin demanded. Me or you? Jungkook's shoulders dropped. Me. That answer broke something in Jimin. He turned away and pressed his palm against his mouth, but the sob escaped anyway. Jungkook took one instinctive step forward. Don't. Jimin raised his hand. Jungkook immediately stopped. Don't come closer. Okay. Jimin breathed through the ache in his chest. He had spent years wondering why Jungkook could make his heart race with a single glance and then make him feel invisible with the same eyes. He had blamed himself. He had told himself he was too sensitive, too attached, too foolish. He had even tried to distance himself from Jungkook several times, only to find Jungkook appearing beside him with some ridiculous excuse. A warm drink, a quiet joke, or that familiar smile that made Jimin forget why he had been angry. Do you know what I hate most? Jimin whispered. What? I wanted you to say it. Jungkook went still. Jimin turned around. Tears shone beneath his eyes. That's why I'm crying. I wanted you to tell me. Jungkook stared at him as if the entire room had shifted beneath his feet. Jimin? I waited too. His voice became smaller. I waited for you to choose me. Jungkook's lips trembled. You thought I didn't? What else was I supposed to think? Jimin asked. You never said anything. You watched me date people. You told me I deserved someone who could give me everything. You smiled when I told you about them. Because I thought you were happy. I wasn't. Jungkook looked devastated. Why didn't you tell me? Jimin wiped his face. Because I was waiting for you. Silence fell between them. The rain struck the windows harder, filling the room with a restless hiss. Jimin looked toward the dark glass. Do you remember the night I almost told you? Which one? Exactly. Jimin gave a humorless smile. There were too many. Jungkook's eyes dropped. I remember. Then why did you pretend not to? Because I knew if you said what I thought you were going to say, I wouldn't be able to pretend anymore. Jimin stared at him. You were scared. Terrified. And now? Jungkook breathed out slowly. Now I'm more terrified of spending another year wondering what would have happened if I had been brave. Jimin's face crumpled again. You should have told me sooner. I know. Years sooner. I know. Before I convinced myself I had imagined everything. Jungkook looked at him. Did you? Jimin hesitated. That hesitation told Jungkook more than words could. No. Jimin finally whispered. I didn't. Jungkook's eyes widened. Jimin? I loved you too. The room seemed to stop breathing. Jungkook stared at him. Jimin looked away immediately, embarrassed by the vulnerability of the admission. Don't make me repeat it. Jungkook's voice was barely audible. You love me. I said don't make me repeat it. Jimin. Yes. Jungkook covered his mouth with one hand. For several seconds he said nothing. Then his shoulders began to shake. Jimin looked at him and realized Jungkook was crying too. Why are you crying? Jimin asked, almost offended. Jungkook laughed through his tears. Because you just told me the thing I've been afraid I would never hear. Jimin's anger softened, but only slightly. You're still an idiot. I know. A coward. I know. And you hurt me. Jungkook nodded. I know. Jimin stepped closer. Don't just keep saying you know. Jungkook looked at him. Then tell me what you want. Jimin's lips trembled. I want you to stop deciding what I can handle. Jungkook nodded slowly. Okay. If you're scared, tell me. Okay. If you love me, tell me. Jungkook's eyes softened. I love you. Jimin closed his eyes as another tear escaped. See? Was that so difficult? Jungkook almost smiled. For me? Yes. Idiot. I know. Jimin was about to answer when the studio lights suddenly flickered. Both of them looked up. The speakers made a sharp popping sound before the room plunged into darkness. Jimin's breath caught. Jungkook. I'm here. Something crashed near the hallway. Jungkook immediately moved toward Jimin. Stay behind me. What was that? I don't know. Another sound came from the corridor, followed by a faint metallic scrape. Jungkook reached for his phone. No signal. Jimin's phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out. One unknown message appeared on the screen. Stop asking him about the past. Jimin's blood went cold. Jungkook. He showed him the screen. Jungkook's entire expression changed. Give me your phone. Why? Jimin. The urgency in his voice made Jimin obey. Jungkook read the message, then looked toward the hallway. We're leaving. You know what this is. Not here. Jungkook. Now. They moved quickly through the emergency exit, the heavy door slamming behind them. Rain exploded against Jimin's face when they reached the alley. Jungkook grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the car. Jimin followed, heart pounding. You knew something like this could happen? I suspected. How long? Jungkook unlocked the car. Get in. How long? Jimin, please. No. Jimin stood in the rain. You don't get to confess your love to me and then immediately start hiding things again. Jungkook stared at him. I've been receiving messages for months. Jimin froze. What? Warnings. About what? About you. Jimin's face went pale. Jungkook looked away. Someone has been telling me to stay away from you. Why? I don't know. And you didn't tell me? I thought it would stop. It didn't. No. Jimin's eyes burned. You promised me. I promised you 30 seconds ago. Then start now. Jungkook stared at him, and something in Jimin's expression finally broke through his fear. Someone has been following us, Jungkook admitted. For a long time. Jimin felt the rain disappear beneath the rush of adrenaline. Who? I don't know. What do they want? I think they want us apart. Why? Jungkook looked at him. Because they know what happened that night. Jimin stopped breathing. What night? Jungkook's face changed. Jimin immediately noticed. Jungkook. Get in the car. What night? Jimin, please. You know I don't remember. I know. Then tell me. Jungkook closed his eyes. The accident. Jimin felt a strange pressure behind his forehead. Rain. Headlights. broken glass, a hand gripping his wrist, Jungkook shouting his name. Then darkness. What accident? Jimin whispered. The one 3 years ago. Jimin stared at him. I thought it was just a car accident. Jungkook's silence answered him. It wasn't. I don't know. You do. I know there were things that didn't make sense. What things? The brakes failed. Jimin's eyes widened. And you never told me? You were unconscious. I woke up. You didn't remember. So you decided I didn't deserve to know? I decided I didn't want to make you relive it. Jimin's face hardened. That isn't your decision. Jungkook looked away. I know. Stop saying that. I'm sorry. Jimin stepped toward him. You keep protecting me by lying to me? And you call that love? Jungkook flinched. Jimin immediately regretted the cruelty of the words, but the hurt was too deep to retract them. I don't know how to love you without being afraid, Jungkook whispered. Jimin's anger faltered. What are you afraid of? Jungkook looked directly into his eyes. That something will happen to you because of me. Jimin stared at him. Something already happened to us. Jungkook's expression collapsed. Exactly. They drove to Jungkook's apartment in silence. The city outside was a blur of wet neon and headlights. Jimin sat beside him, staring through the window, trying to understand why his memories felt like fragments of a dream. Jungkook drove with both hands locked around the steering wheel. It was a habit Jimin had always noticed. Whenever Jungkook was nervous, he gripped the wheel too tightly. Tonight, his knuckles were white. Relax your hands, Jimin whispered. Jungkook looked down. What? Your hands. Jungkook loosened his grip. Jimin stared ahead. You always do that when you're scared. Jungkook glanced at him. You noticed. I notice everything about you. Jungkook went quiet. Jimin realized what he had said and looked away. The silence that followed was different. Softer. Sadder. At the apartment, Jungkook made tea without asking. Jimin watched him prepare it exactly the way he always had. 2 sugars. No milk. The familiarity hurt. You remember everything about me. Jungkook placed the cup in front of him. Of course. Why? Jungkook looked confused. Why wouldn't I? Jimin wrapped both hands around the warm cup. Because you were supposedly trying not to love me. Jungkook sat across from him. I never said I succeeded. Jimin looked up. You're impossible. You already said that. I meant it again. Jungkook smiled faintly. The smile disappeared when Jimin asked, Tell me about the accident. Jungkook stared at the table. We had argued. About me? Yes. What did I say? You said you were tired. Of you. Of hiding. Jimin's breath caught. What did you say? Jungkook swallowed. I said I didn't want you to leave. And? You asked me why. Jimin closed his eyes. A faint memory surfaced. Jungkook's voice. Rain against glass. His own trembling hands. What happened next? Jimin whispered. A truck crossed the intersection. The brakes failed. And you? I tried to turn. Jimin opened his eyes. Then what? The car hit the barrier. What happened to you? Nothing serious. Jungkook. A few stitches. Jimin's expression tightened. And me? You hit your head. Jimin touched his temple instinctively. I lost consciousness. For almost 9 hours. Jimin stared at him. 9 hours. Jungkook nodded. When you woke up, you asked where I was. Jimin's eyes filled. Why? Jungkook smiled sadly. Because apparently even with a concussion, you were still worried about me. Jimin looked down. What else did I say? Jungkook hesitated. You asked me if I had told you. Told me what? I didn't know. Jimin stared at him. You didn't. You kept asking if I had told you. Jimin's heart began racing. And did you? Jungkook shook his head. No, why? Because you were barely conscious. Jimin stood. There's more. Jungkook didn't answer. There's something you're not telling me. Jimin. What happened before the accident? Jungkook's eyes filled with guilt. I was going to confess. You already said that. No, Jungkook's voice broke. I mean, I had already started. Jimin froze. Jungkook reached into a drawer and pulled out an old phone. He turned it on. The screen was cracked. This was in the car. Jimin stared at it. What is that? My old phone. Jungkook opened an audio file. Static filled the room. Then Jimin heard his own voice. You keep looking at me like you want to say something. Jimin went completely still. Jungkook's younger voice followed. Maybe I do. Jimin's hand flew to his mouth. The recording continued. Then say it. A pause. A breath. Jungkook's voice became almost inaudible. I love you. Jimin closed his eyes. Tears spilled immediately. The recording ended with a burst of static. Jimin looked at Jungkook. You told me. Jungkook nodded. I did. Before the accident. Yes. And Jimin struggled to breathe. What did I say? Jungkook looked terrified. You never got to answer. Jimin stared at him. Then the memory came. Not complete. Not clear. But enough. His hand around Jungkook's wrist. His own voice trembling. Say it again. Jungkook had said it. I love you. Jimin remembered smiling. He remembered leaning closer. Then headlights. The scream of tires. Glass. Darkness. Jimin began crying harder. I was going to answer you. Jungkook's eyes filled. I know. You knew. I heard you say it. Jimin stared at him. What did I say? Jungkook's voice broke. You said, I love you too. Jimin covered his face. A sob escaped. Jungkook immediately stood but stopped himself before approaching. Can I? Jimin lowered his hands. He looked at Jungkook through tears. Come here. Jungkook crossed the room. Jimin grabbed him and buried his face against his chest. Jungkook held him carefully, as if Jimin were something fragile. Why did you wait? Jimin cried. Why did you make me spend 3 years thinking you didn't feel anything? Because after the accident, you forgot. I didn't forget you. You forgot the confession. Jimin pulled back. And you never reminded me. I was afraid. Again. I thought if I told you and you didn't remember feeling it, you would think you owed me something. Jimin stared at him. The anger slowly transformed into grief. You thought I would stay because I felt guilty. I didn't want your love if it wasn't freely given. Jimin's eyes filled again. But I loved you before the accident. I know. And after it. You just didn't know why. Jimin pressed his palm against his chest. That's why it always hurt. Jungkook's brow furrowed. What? Whenever you walked away, I felt like something was missing. He laughed weakly through tears. I thought I was just too attached to you. Jungkook touched his cheek. You were remembering without remembering. Jimin leaned into his palm. Maybe. Then his eyes narrowed. But the messages. Jungkook's hand dropped. Right? Someone knew. Yes. Someone knew about the recording. Maybe. Jimin looked at the phone. Who has been sending them? Jungkook didn't know. They spent the next several days investigating everything they could without drawing attention. The mystery pulled them into old memories and uncomfortable truths. Jimin discovered that the accident had been dismissed as mechanical failure, but the maintenance records were incomplete. Jungkook discovered that someone had accessed an old storage account containing photographs from the night of the accident. Their investigation led them to a former staff member who had left abruptly after the crash. But when they found him, he refused to speak. He only said, You two were never supposed to remember. Jimin's blood chilled. Remember what? The man looked at him with pity. The person who caused the accident wasn't trying to kill Jungkook. Jimin stared. Then who? The man's eyes shifted toward Jungkook. They wanted to scare him. Jungkook's expression darkened. Why? Because someone knew you were planning to tell Jimin. Jimin felt his stomach drop. Someone wanted you to stay silent. The man nodded. They knew your relationship could affect things they didn't want exposed. What things? I don't know. You do. I know enough to understand that whoever did it was frightened of what you two might reveal. Jimin stepped closer. Then why did you help them? The man looked ashamed. I didn't. You disappeared. Because I was threatened. By whom? The man's eyes moved toward the window. I never saw their face. Jimin's frustration grew. Everyone keeps saying they're protecting us, but nobody tells us anything. Jungkook reached for his hand. Jimin squeezed it. That simple gesture steadied him. We'll find out, Jungkook said. Jimin looked at him. Together. Together. The investigation eventually uncovered that the accident was connected to an old dispute involving someone who had been leaking confidential information about their private lives. The person behind the messages had not been their enemy but someone trying to force the truth into the open without exposing themselves. The threats had been clumsy attempts to keep Jimin and Jungkook from investigating alone. The evidence was eventually delivered to the authorities, and the mystery surrounding the damaged brakes began to unravel. Yet the emotional damage remained. One night, Jimin sat beside Jungkook on the balcony, while the city glowed beneath them. Do you regret it? Jungkook asked. What? Telling me you loved me? Jimin turned toward him. No. Even after everything? Especially after everything. Jungkook looked down. I'm sorry I waited. Jimin leaned against the railing. I'm still angry. I know. Stop saying that. Jungkook smiled. Sorry. Jimin laughed softly. Then his expression became serious. I think I'm angry because I lost time. Me too. 3 years. I know. Jimin glared. Jungkook immediately raised his hands. Sorry. Jimin smiled despite himself. We can't get it back. No. But we can stop wasting more. Jungkook looked at him. What does that mean? Jimin reached for his hand. It means you tell me when you're afraid. Jungkook nodded. You tell me when you're hurt. Okay. You tell me when you love me. Jungkook smiled. I love you. Jimin's eyes softened. Good. I love you. I heard you. I want to make up for lost time. Jimin looked at him. You can start by kissing me. Jungkook froze. Jimin raised an eyebrow. What? Nothing. Then why are you staring? Because I've imagined you saying that for years. Jimin laughed. And now? Jungkook leaned closer. Now I'm finally brave enough to believe it. Their lips met softly beneath the city lights. There was no dramatic music, no thunder, no sudden revelation. Just warmth, trembling hands, and two people who had spent years mistaking silence for protection. The rain continued softly outside, but Jimin no longer heard it as a reminder of everything they had lost. He heard it as something ordinary, something gentle, something that could exist without carrying pain. Jungkook's hand remained wrapped around his. For years, Jimin had wondered what it would feel like to finally hear the words he had secretly waited for. Now he understood that the confession itself had never been the ending. It was the beginning. Jimin looked at Jungkook and smiled through the last traces of tears. Promise me something. Jungkook squeezed his fingers. What? If you're scared, tell me. I will. If you're hurt, tell me. I will. If you love me. Jungkook smiled. I'll tell you every day. Jimin's eyes softened. Good. Jungkook leaned closer until their foreheads touched. I love you, Jimin. This time, Jimin didn't cry because the words had arrived too late. He cried because, after everything they had survived, they had finally arrived at a place where those words no longer needed to be feared. Jimin closed his eyes. I love you too. No secrets. No silence. No waiting. Just the two of them, holding on to each other while the rain slowly faded beyond the window. The years they had lost could never be returned. But tomorrow was still theirs. And this time, neither of them intended to waste it.